Now let's take a look at Shishir's second question. Is there an optimal time to roll up the put in a married put? In our opinion, yes, there is. This is income method number 4 in the blueprint, using that second working asset of the married put structure, long stock plus long put, following the rules in the blueprint to reduce risk and lock in some of the unrealized profit as the stock has moved up in price. Let's take a look. But let's say that I had gotten in TREX on around February 5th, and I bought it around 83. Okay, so let's just go to setup here. I don't want to do that one. Oh, let me go into preferred structure. Okay, we'll just use preferred structure. I'm sorry. So 2 things I want to do here. We're going to go into this preferred structure portfolio. I'm going to quickly go over to the chain. We're going to go to TREX chain for February 5th. I want to see puts only, and I would have been out into July. Now, stock was at 82.54. It's tough to say. We're just going to go with the 85 at 9.55. No, I want to go with the 90. My apologies, Shishir. I want to go with the 90. We're going to go with the 90 at 12.65 when TREX was trading at 82.54. That's the midpoint price. We're going to use 12.65 for a 90 strike put if I had entered this married put potentially on the 5th. Now let me enter that as our married put into the portfolio. So we enter a new position, and enter in my data. July 90 put 12.65. Fantastic. Oh, transaction date is relevant, but just to keep things real-ish, because this is fake, we'll do it this way. All right. What did I do here? I opened a married put. Let's take a look at the profit and loss chart. 5.5% risk. So maybe I would have probably stayed with the 85, but I wanted to use this as the illustration for your income method number 4 question. Real quick. Typically, Ernie and I have found that the best time to do income method number 4 is when the stock has moved above your put strike price and is halfway between your strike and the next strike. Now, it follows one of the 3 core principles of radioactive trading, the at-the-money bell curve, where initially when the stock was at 82 here, I'm sorry, 82, my apologies, folks, 82 here, we had purchased the 90 put up here for July. Now, the stock's trading at 93. So this put that we paid, this $12.65, $8 of it, or close to $8 of it, was intrinsic value. That $5.19, that maximum risk, was the time value. Now that the stock is above the put strike price, the value of this put, which is all time value, is $7.65, I believe we saw. There's an October series now. Yeah, it's about, okay, $7.10. So $6.50 to $7.10, let's call it $6.80. So the original extrinsic or time premium is $5.19. Now that 18 days have passed and the stock has gone from in the money to just slightly out of the money, we're closer to this range on the ATM bell curve where we started out here. So the extrinsic value, since this put is all extrinsic or time value, has actually swelled. Yeah, we lost near $7 of intrinsic value to gain $11 in the underlying security. Positive trade-off. But this is what we're looking at. The reason why Ernie and I feel that the best time to roll this put up, even though it's going to be done at a debit, is when the stock is above your existing put strike price and between one of the next strike prices. So here between the 95. And the reason why is that usually gives me the best rolling price. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sell this for about $6.80. And if I get midpoint, not likely, but let's say I pay $9.10. I'm paying about $2.30 to gain a 5-point higher payout. I'm going to increase my cost basis from $95.19 up to $97.49, that $2.30. To do what? Gain 5 points higher payout. I've taken my risks down by half almost, more than half, from 5.5 to 2.6% with that adjustment. Even though the ATM bell curve would say that the best time to maybe sell to close our existing put would be when the stock's trading right at 90. Ernie and I feel typically it's when it's going a little bit above that and it's between the strike prices is the best time to do it. Now, just as I had mentioned before, going to radioactive trading, logging on with your password that you have for power options, Shishir, you can look at the latest Blueprint revision updates, Blueprint owners only webinars. One of the more recent ones, ideas on income method number 4, managing 1, and number 6. Go a little bit more in depth into what we're looking for with that income method number 4 adjustment. I'm not going to go too deep into it today of what we look for and the prices that we look for and things of that nature, because it's all there for you as a Blueprint owner. All right, so you want to check some of those out. There's also one, is it time to use income method number 9 when the market was down? Discussion on income method number 12 and number 9. Putting your blueprint to work for those of you that just got started. Look at income method number 1. And I'm going to address this here now as a Blueprint owner. There's also a Kurt in my webinar we did a while ago, income method number 5, the riskless spread trade that pays you twice. While we're on the married put topic, I'm going to jump ahead here to Jignesh's question. He says a question on income method number 5. If the short call strike price is lower than the long put strike price, and the underlying call away that you're going to want to take a look at that webinar for more full information, Jignesh. But what I'm going to say here is that a stock being between the strike prices is also a good time for income method number 5. This is more complex. I'm going to show an example of it, but I'm not going to go in depth to it. I don't even know if TREX is going to offer me this, but we'll take a look. I've got the 90 put. The stock's at 93.81. An income method number 5 opportunity might exist in the short term in March. Yes, it does. Buying 190 call and selling 295s. It's a ratio call spread. But normally, a ratio call spread where I buy 1 call and sell 2 would give me sort of this that's a terrible drawing. It would give me sort of a capped gain, a peak, but it would also have infinite risk. Why would it have infinite risk? Because one of these 2 calls is naked. But in the context of the married put structure, owning the stock and owning the protective put, this income method number 5, I'm going to get 395. So I'm going to get 790 for selling 2 calls if I get midpoint. And I'm going to pay 665 for 190 call. So I'm getting a credit of roughly $1.30, okay, $1.25, to what? Lower my risk and have a position where I get this accelerated profit on the position. Where is this accelerated profit coming from? Essentially what I have is my married put position, and then I did the ratio call spread, which created a married put with income method number 1 combined with a bull call debit spread with a 90 and a 95 strike. This accelerated profit is because the stock is moving up and I'm getting closer to the 5-point extra bang for my buck for the full profit on the bull call debit spread position. But as Jignesh mentions, it has capped upside. Is there a way to not cap the upside in the case of income method number 5? The only way to do that, Jignesh, is if you have multiple shares of stock and you don't do the full 2-to-1 ratio. In other words, if I had 200 shares of stock and 2 puts on TREX, my cost basis would be much higher. My risk is still the same monetarily, but now the upside is left relatively open. I still have infinite upside. Why? Because 100 shares of my stock position are capped by one of these two calls as a covered call. And then I have the bull call debit spread, which is capped. Then I have another 100 shares with two puts protecting it, of course, but really I have a collar here with another married put where the upside is open. That's the only way to do it, is if you have multiple shares of stock and you do a different ratio in that structure. You don't do the full 2-to-1. So I wouldn't do 4-to-2 because I have 200 shares. I would still just do 2-to-1. If I had 400 shares, instead of doing, 4-to-8, I would just do 2-to-4 or maybe 3-to-6 to leave some of those shares open without a capped gain Jignesh. That's what we would look for in those cases. All right. So that's what we're talking about there. That's for the married put. That is for the discussion on the criteria. Remember, take a look, Shishir, at Trust the Power Options stock search. If I see at any time consistently, if Ernie and I see any time consistently that other searches outperform what we're doing with the growth in the stock when we do those tests, we might change the criteria. But until then, it's still showing the best performance over multiple years and over multiple time frames. If you wanted just to look for positions that had a positive MACD or were at or near that upper Bollinger Band, you can adjust the search criteria to make that happen for yourself. And on topics deeper in depth on income method number 4, take out that members only content for Blueprint owners, ideas on income method number 4, managing number 1 and number 6. And Jignesh is a Blueprint owner. You can take a look at those as well, but you might want to look at the income method number 5 and 5 ways to manage income method number 5. Those two videos there focusing on that particular risk with spread trade. To answer your question, yes, the upside is capped. If the stock moves above the short calls, if it's in the true 2-to-1 ratio, only time is to leave it open on the upside there as well.